Hello wrestling fans, the Wrestling Wizard here and welcome to another video. And in this video we're going to do a bit of detective work. We're going to try and put some of the pieces of the puzzle together to try and solve these latest Uncle Howdy teases, because just when we thought these were only going to be appearing on Raw and SmackDown, we've had an Uncle Howdy teaser promo on NXT. So literally anytime, any place, a QR code could pop up, which is really intriguing, really exciting, and I'm having a lot of fun as a fan trying to solve this Uncle Howdy mystery. And I do also believe that WWE, the creative team, Taylor Rotunda, are being geniuses, and I actually think there's some hidden little Easter eggs in this latest Uncle Howdy, now on NXT, promo. Now, of course, we don't know whether this is linked to NXT. We don't know whether this is a clever way of just getting fans engaged also in the NXT product too, to look out for these Uncle Howdy teases. Now, we got a very defiant message from what appears to be Uncle Howdy. And he said, "They were broken. I didn't fix them. I accepted them. They opened the door. We can be family." And that key line, "we can be family," of course links to the Wyatt family. And of course, if you go all the way back to just before WrestleMania 39, we got that promo in the Firefly Funhouse with the question, who opened the door? What is going on behind that door? But in terms of cheeky little Easter eggs, I think there's a very, very clear, very clever Easter egg on the door to what appears to be the old Wyatt family compound, or something very similar to it. Of course, a message was left outside that door, which we'll get onto in a moment. But just look at this image for a second, and look at it again, and look at it even closer. Surely that makes out the outline of a rabbit, potentially the White Rabbit. And I think this is very clever, because the White Rabbit, of course, in the Bray Wyatt promo teases in the lead up to his return at Extreme Rules 2022, was the White Rabbit leading us to Bray Wyatt. But specifically, I think over time, the White Rabbit would have inevitably led us to the Fiend. That was the plan for Wyndham Rotunda and his final creation, to reveal this new Fiend, which of course we got answers to in the Bray Wyatt documentary. So what if the White Rabbit is now leading us to somewhere even darker in regards to and linked to Taylor Rotunda? Is Taylor Rotunda going to get his own version of the Fiend, to get him to truly revel in who he is, to embrace the darkness, to bring out his darker side? And also, another cheeky little Easter egg, I believe, could be linked to Eric Rowan. Take a look at this. Now, of course, the skull theme is very prominent. Of course, skulls were very prominent in Bray Wyatt promos in 2022 and the start of 2023. But look at this in a bit more detail. That potentially looks like the outline of Eric Rowan's sheep mask, of course, when he was a part of the Wyatt family. Maybe potentially another Easter egg. Now, of course, we know Eric Rowan has been heavily linked to WWE, and I'm pretty confident in saying he is part of these Uncle Howdy teases, potentially part of an incoming faction. We don't know for sure, but we can certainly speculate. Now, during this NXT Uncle Howdy promo, there was this prominent figure that popped up, and of course the wrestling world went nuts and linked this, understandably, to Joe Gacy. Joe Gacy is a member of the NXT roster, and if there's someone from the NXT roster that's potentially going to be part of this potential Uncle Howdy faction, then it would be Joe Gacy. But if you look at the pose that this figure is striking, it's also very similar to the pose that Uncle Howdy struck when he was getting Alexa Bliss to embrace the darkness. Very similar to the Randy Orton pose. And maybe, just maybe, there's a parallel there to Uncle Howdy rather than Joe Gacy. Now, of course, we keep seeing eyes popping up in these Uncle Howdy promos as well. And this was obviously something that was very, very prominent in that Firefly Funhouse segment in the lead up to WrestleMania 39. Bray's promo, "Open your eyes," is a very catching line and link to Uncle Howdy. And so maybe, just maybe, this is a link also to Alexa Bliss, because of course we saw what we deem to perceive is Alexa Bliss's hands in the Firefly Funhouse playing with those two Undertaker action figures. So what if, again, this is a link to those eyes that we saw in the Firefly Funhouse, which of course was similar to the version of Alexa Bliss, which we saw at WrestleMania 37. And how can we not talk about this creepy letter that was left on the doorstep of what appears to be a location very similar to what the Wyatt family compound was like? Of course, Randy Orton burnt that down, but I'm getting Bray Wyatt family compound vibes from this location. And this message is very telling, maybe a spiritual message from Bray to Bo to get him to remember who he is, the family that he's part of, the dominant, powerful wrestling background that the Rotunda family have. Also, if we're really going into detail, you can't ignore the 3 lines. That could potentially represent 3 versions of Taylor Rotunda, aka Bo Dallas. We know, of course, Bray Wyatt admitted that he was the Eater of Worlds, he was Uncle Howdy, he was him, i.e. the Fiend. We know, of course, that that was Bray Wyatt's final creation. So we know that Bray, of course, was the Eater of Worlds version. He was Uncle Howdy, he admitted it. Uncle Howdy was part of his psyche in some shape or form. And of course, he was the Fiend. What if that final scene that we saw at the end of the Bray Wyatt documentary was essentially Bray Wyatt passing on the lantern to Bo Dallas? We've seen the lantern very prominent in what appears to be this Wyatt family-esque compound. So what if Bray Wyatt wants Bo Dallas to embrace the darkness, to revel in what he is, to start his own version of the Wyatt family? And I know it sounds like a reach, but this is potentially Bo Dallas taking on the spirit of Uncle Howdy, having his own version and his own darker alter ego, essentially Bo Dallas's version of the Fiend, something that we haven't seen. We've seen this message, do you want to meet him? Who are we meeting? Are we potentially meeting a character we've never met before? Potentially Bo Dallas's deepest, darkest secret. We know, of course, Bray Wyatt's secret was ultimately going to be revealed as the Fiend. What if Bo Dallas has a darker alter ego we haven't even met? I don't think Bo Dallas is going to portray Uncle Howdy, certainly not in the ring or anything like that. But what if the ghost in the machine, Uncle Howdy, is controlling Bo Dallas, just like he was controlling Bray Wyatt? We know, of course, Bo Dallas was portraying Uncle Howdy to cover Bray Wyatt's lies. Bray Wyatt's deepest, darkest psyche was Uncle Howdy. What if that is now part of Bo Dallas? I think that's really, really intriguing. And Bo Dallas, Uncle Howdy, his darker psyche, can then control and get other characters to embrace the darkness. I don't think we're immediately going to see a Wyatt family-esque reveal, a Bo Dallas faction straight off the bat. I think this is going to take time, but initially we're going to see Bo Dallas' story personally play out. You got this whole drown in his glory, drown in Bray Wyatt's glory, follow on the Wyatt legacy via Taylor Rotunda. Who opened the door? We can be family. What family are we going to see? How is this going to play out? But I really, really like the concept of Bo potentially having Uncle Howdy, just like Bray had in the background, a darker alter ego, a conflict in personality, a conflict psychologically, almost like this split personality. And of course that can link with characters like Alexa Bliss, Eric Rowan. It just makes sense. But I think this promo really, really, really hammered home to me that Uncle Howdy is almost a spirit in relation to Bo Dallas, and what Bo Dallas does from now remains to be seen. But I think there's a lot of parallels here with Uncle Howdy taking particular characters to a chosen destination where they are fully embracing their darker side potentially and living up to their full potential. But what do you think? Get down in the comments section, share your thoughts and opinions, your wildest theories. They're always welcome on this channel. Do you think this is linked to Alexa Bliss? Do you think this is linked to Jay Gacy? Potentially in time? Yes, we know Braun Strowman's returned, but could he potentially be linked in time? Is Eric Rowan going to return? When do you think this is going to happen? Is it going to be as soon as Backlash? Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. Thank you so much for watching the video. As always, it'd be very much appreciated if you could like the video, share the video, and even better, subscribe if you're new. We'll catch you in the next one.